Hi everybody, it's Alexinis and today I'm gonna review for you the brand new Wilson DEFYER 98 Pro. So obviously we all know that this racket is extremely hype, and I already made a first impression video with the Python prototype, and so if you want to see my first impression when I hit with this racket during March, you can click up here, but today is now my full review. So since March, the beginning of March actually, I've been able to hit with this racket from time to time. So I have to say that I have a lot of experience with this racket. So obviously this review will be maybe a bit different to what I'm used to when I try a racket for a week, let's say. Now it's been a couple of months that I've been trying this racket, so I can definitely help you to see if this racket is made for you or not. So in order to make this review, I'm gonna first talk about the specs, and then we're gonna go on the court to rank this racket in 4 different categories. You're gonna have control, power, spin, and feel, and like I said, at the end I will be able to rate this racket and to tell you if this racket is made for you or not. So obviously this model is brand new, so we have nothing to compare this racket with, but it's like the new spin-oriented line from Wilson. You have a 98 square inch head size racket with a 16 by 20 string pattern, and you have an unstrung weight of 305 grams. Another thing worth mentioning is that this racket is 9 points headlight. With this racket comes a lot of different technology. You have the torque shaft technology. I don't really care about the name, you know me. Basically it's a stability type of technology. The SI3D, basically their version of the high bore technology, so you have something that feels flexible but still stable at the same time. And you have the airfoil bumper, whatever it is. Basically it's a shape in the bumper that helps the aerodynamic of the racket in general. You know me, like I said, I'm not really a guy about, talking about technology. I'm more about how this racket feels on the court. So that's what we're gonna do. I've tried this racket with many string setup, such as, this one is Polytour Force at 55 pounds. I've tried Luxilin 4G, Wilson Revolve Spin. So many different string setup, head links, whatever. So yeah, just take into consideration, I've tried many polyester string. So now let's go on the court. I had to say that this racket is definitely worth the hype. But now, why are those people telling you that this racket is such a good one? And why, as a reviewer, I'm also telling you that this racket is a good one? That's what we're gonna try to find out. First of all, with control, I have to say that control is good. You feel like it's not one of those rackets that feels overpowered, and at the same time, it's not one of those rackets where it feels like this racket is really like control oriented. It's a great in between. I have to say that it's less powerful than a Babolat Pure Aero 98, but at the same time it's not as control oriented as a Wilson Blade, for example. So you have a great in between, and so in general when you hit, you never feel like you're gonna miss too long with this racket. But this racket is also achieving control with the spin that it can generate. So you also need a powerful frame in general if you have a spin oriented frame, because if you have a spin oriented frame with no power, you won't achieve a great depth in general. So I feel like this racket finds the right balance between not being overpowered, but at the same time not being too control oriented to the fact that the ball always lands short. So for me, control is not a big stands out of this racket, but it's a big stands out compared to the other spin oriented racket. So I'll have to go with 8 out of 10. In terms of power, I've said it in the control section, but for me it's important to have a good level of power when you're doing a spin oriented racket. For me, it's a no-brainer. The thing that I like with this racket is the fact that because this racket is stable through impact, it feels like the power is manageable. That's the right word for me, manageable. Yes, you have some power, but you know when you can use it and when not to. And for me, that's the most important thing. I like Babolat Pure Aero. They suit my game great, but the thing that I don't like with the Babolat Aero is the fact that, unfortunately, it's sometimes too powerful for my liking, which is not the case with this one because I know when to use it and when not. So in terms of power, it has to be a solid 8.5 out of 10. In terms of spin, obviously this is the main section of this video because this racket is the new spin line from Wilson. This racket is a pretty average racket compared to other spin oriented racket. This racket is pretty average, in terms of spin generation. Where I feel like it's standing out is the fact that it feels solid. With the Python, the prototype version, it didn't appear to be this way. I don't know if they increased the indent here. You feel like there's something dinging up in the frame. I don't know if it's just the bright red color that makes me see that better compared to the prototype, but I feel like in general they've made a mix between the Aero type of throat with a bit of ease-on, so modern type of racket combined together, and in general it creates a great mix. The spin is there, but also in terms of slice, you feel like you can feel the ball when you slice it, and sometimes I feel like with spin oriented racket you don't feel the slice just as well. The thing that I like with this racket also is that yes, this racket has parallel drilling, whatever. I'm not the YouTuber that's gonna make you an hour-long video about parallel drilling, but basically it's good because you have a lot of consistency in the string bed. But if you're looking at the grommet and you might not see it, there's not a lot of space between the string and the grommet, which is perfect for me because you have a lot of consistency in general in the string bed. So in terms of topspin, it has to be a 9 out of 10. In terms of feel, I think that this is probably the best racket in terms of feel. It blends everything that I like in one racket. You have some feel, you have some control, you have some power, you have some spin, but with stability. Sometimes with a spin oriented racket, because the frame is too big, I feel like I like a feel even though it's a spin oriented racket, or sometimes I have too much feel, which at some point makes me miss my backhand because I like to have a flatter backhand. But with this one, I feel like with my forehand I was able to put a lot of topspin on it, so that was perfect. But also with my backhand I was able to put it more flat. At the net, it's probably, and I said it in my first impression video of this racket, the best racket at the net, which is kind of insane because there's no spin oriented racket in my life that I've tried that I felt like they were good at the net. Maybe the Yonex V-Core 98, but that's pretty much it. But this one is definitely stands out. It's so stable, the feel is so great that when you go to the net, you feel like, it's there, you're gonna do it. At the serve, same thing. I just feel like you can do pretty much everything with this racket. In general, this racket has to be remembered as a racket that can do whatever you want to do, and it's definitely the new modern racket that everybody will enjoy, I think. So I'll have to go with 9.5 out of 10 for feel. So there you have my overall rating. Like I've said, I would recommend this new Wilson DEFYER 98 Pro to people who want to grind from the baseline. Yes, want to be aggressive, but are not afraid to go sometime to the net. Basically, you want a racket that is modern, but that can do everything. It's a bit like if the blade wanted to be more modern. You have the feel of the blade, but now you have a bit more topspin, a bit more power to help you. So in general, I feel like it fits right in between the Wilson Blade 98 and let's say the Wilson Ultra 99 Pro. It's a great fit, and I highly recommend you to try this racket because the hype is definitely real. So that's it for the video. Hope you all like it. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe, and see you next time. Bye bye.